Hey everyone, I am Priyanshu Agrawal and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now we are going to see the second question of today's Leetcode Biweekly contest 153, which is maximize active section with thread 1. Okay, so let's see what is this question and how we can solve it. So in this question, you are given a binary string s of length n, where 1 represents an active section and 0 represents an inactive section. Okay, and you can perform at most one trade to maximize the number of active sections in S. It means to maximize the number of ones in S. Okay, but what does this trade means? So in a trade, you can convert a contiguous block of ones that is surrounded by zeros to all zeros, and after that convert a contiguous block of zeros that is surrounded by ones to all ones. It means, let's say you have something like this, then what you can do, this contiguous block of ones is surrounded by zeros. Only then you can change all these ones to zeros, so it will become 0 0 0 0 0. But let's say if it is not if it is something like this, then you can't change it to this. No, you can't do this. You can change it to this only if it is surrounded by zeros. And after that, you can change a contiguous block of zeros that is surrounded by ones to all ones. Okay, but now it has become a complete zero string. So can we change it to this? Okay, let's read the question further so we will get to know. Return the maximum number of active sections in S after making the optimal trade. So finally you need to return the maximum ones in S and treat S as if it is augmented with 1 at both ends, forming something like this, and the augmented ones do not contribute in the final count. Okay, so we have got, like, you can consider this string something like this, So yeah, this block of zeros is surrounded by ones. That's why you can convert all these zeros to ones. So its answer will become 6 as it has 6 ones. And you need to return the maximum number of active sections. Okay, so you can do this one trade to maximize the number of ones, and you need to return the maximum number of ones in the final string. Okay, so let's see it with some example. Let's take this example 0 1 0 1 0. So you have been given within a string 0 1 0 1 0. Okay, so let's say it is augmented with this one, something like this. Okay, so you have been, let's see, so you have been given that you can change first ones to zeros, right? In this trade, first you need to convert ones to zeros. You can convert ones to zeros. Okay, so let's say you can convert these ones to zeros, right? Okay, and then you can convert this complete zeros, because these ones should be surrounded by zeros, and then you can convert these contiguous block of zeros to ones. Okay, so can you see something from here? See, these ones are already there, and you can also convert these zeros to ones, right? So see, in one trade, what you can do, if you are able to drive something from this intuition, that you can change these ones to zeros and then these all zeros to ones. So ultimately what we are getting from here is that we can change the left group of zeros and the right group of zeros to ones. If there are some ones in a string, then the left group of zeros and the right group of zeros can be changed to 1 in a single trade. This is the crisp of that trade. We don't need to consider that first we need to change ones to zeros and zeros to ones. No, you can drive something from here that you need to change ones to zeros, and then ultimately you will be able to change this complete block to ones. So what you can drive from here is that if you have some consecutive ones, then ultimately you can change the left group of zeros and the right group of zeros to ones. Okay, so what you can see is you will be so what will our answer will become? Left group of zeros, left zeros plus right zeros, and the remaining ones which are already there in the string, because we need to return the maximum number of active sections. And what is the active section? 1 is an active section. So remaining number of ones which are already present in the string will be your answer. Left zeros plus right zeros and ones. The thing you need to do is you need to find the maximum of this left zeros and right zeros, because we need to maximize the number of active sections. Okay, so let's try applying this in this example. Okay, so let's initialize something like left zeros with 0, right zeros, not left zeros, let's say current zeros with zeros and previous zeros with zeros. And let's say total ones count in our string. We also need to count the total number of ones because we need to add it in our final answer. And one thing which we need to initialize is that maximum ones which we can get with our current zeros and previous zeros. We will also initialize it with 0. And we will also need to keep track of zero segment, some zero segment variable, because let's say if your string is something like this, then you can't do anything in this because it is augmented something with something like this. So you can't change any ones to zeros because they are not bounded by any zeros. So if your zero segment is greater than 1, only then you can perform that trade, otherwise you can't. That's why we need to keep track of this zero segment variable. Okay, so now let's try run this. So let's say this is an augmented variable, so we will not consider it. Let's say we are at here 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Currently our I pointer is pointing to at this location. Okay, so what we will do, if our s of I is equals to 0, then what we will do, we will simply increment our current 0 plus plus. Cool. So what we will do, we will simply increment our current 0 with 1 and move on to the next index. Okay, if it is 1, then what we will do, we will simply increment our 1 count, right? True. Okay, because we are counting the ones, then what we will do, we will simply increment our current ones, or what I have ones count here. Let's say ones count plus plus. Okay, and then what we need to do, we need to increment our max ones with what value? We will increment our max ones with maximum of max ones comma previous zeros plus current zeros, right? Yes, because we need to find the left zeros and right zeros. So right now previous zeros is 0, current 0 is 1, so it will become 1 plus 0, which is 1. Okay, and we will also need to update this previous and current zeros because now we are at this one. So for this one, our previous zeros will become this, which was our current zeros. So what we will do, if current zeros is not equals to 0, then what we will do, we will simply update our previous zeros with current zeros, and we will also need to update our 0 segment because we have ended with our 1 0 segment, because this was the 1 0 segment, this is another, so that's why we will also need to update our 0 segment. Cool. Let's update. So let's update previous with the current 0, and now what we will do, we will simply update our current 0 with 0, because right now for this current one, for this one, current zeros are 0. Okay, so we have completed the one iteration. Oh, we will also need to update this 0 segment. Okay, now our I is pointing at this position. It's 0. So if it is 0, then what we need to do? We just need to increment our current 0, which was now 0 because we have updated it. So now again it will become 1. Okay, now let's move on. If it is 1, so what we need to do? We will need to increment our ones count, and then we need to update our max ones with maximum of max ones comma current 0 plus previous 0, which is 2. So it will get updated by 2. And now we will need to update our previous and current zeros. Previous 0 will get updated with current zeros, which is 1. Now our 0 segment will also get increased by 1, and current zeros will become 0, right? Okay, now we are at here. again we got a 0, so we will simply increment our current 0 by 1. Okay, so in this way we have come to the end of our iteration because this was the augmented one. Okay, so let's see now finally what we need to return. So what we need to return? First we need to return the total ones which are already there, because these are already the active sections in our string. So that total ones will surely be there in our answer. So one count plus what we need to do, ones count plus maximum ones. But maximum ones only in the case when our zero segment is greater than 1, because we are all when we got this maximums, when we perform some trade, when we can perform some trade. But if our zero segment is less than 1, then in that case we can't perform any trade. So ones count plus max ones. If zero segment is greater than 1, then max ones, otherwise 0. Right? Okay, so let's see its code once. It is completely similar as the pseudo code which I have written, in which we have initialized current 0 count, previous 0 count, ones count, 0 segment and max ones. So if we have encountered some 0, then we will simply increment our current 0 count. If it is 1, then we will simply increment our ones count and update our max ones, and then update our previous 0 count, 0 segment and again current 0 count. And by the end of this loop, we will simply update our 0 segment if current of 0 count is not equals to 0. It means if by the end of the string iteration, if we have left with some zeros, then we will update 0 segment by 1 and again update our max ones, and finally return ones count plus max ones if 0 segment is greater than 1, otherwise only 1 count. Okay, so we forget to see the final result of this test case. So let's see ones count. So let's update our 0 segment if we have some current zeros. So yeah, we have some current zeros, so we will update our 0 segment. And what we need to do, we need to update our max ones again. So max ones will still remain 2 only because current zeros plus previous zeros. And finally what we need to return, ones count which is 2 and 0 segment is greater than 1, so we will add max ones, so its answer will become 4. So yeah, you can see in this here as well, its answer is 4. So let's talk about its time and space complexities now. So as we are doing only one iteration here, so its time complexity will be big of n, where n is the length of the string, and its space complexity will be big of 1 as we are not using any extra space. So yeah, that's all for this question. It was a little bit tricky question to find its intuition, but yeah, I hope you get it. But if you still have any doubts, then you can post in the comment section. I will surely try to answer them. Till then, bye guys, see you in the next video.